Industrialization and the need to develop are both admirable goals, but they come with byproducts that are less than savory. For generations, the solid waste has been building up wherever there are people. But on a continent where climate change is a very real threat, the way we currently deal with waste is simply not sustainable.
You know, for a long time, the human race, we had ignored the environment, and we have always thought it will always be here with us, it will always be clean, so there was no need of doing anything. But then you go back in the 1970s, 1980s, there was a huge debate within the policymakers, but the debates first started within the scientific community, and they were advising if we continue on the same path we were then, we were going to have a very unsustainable future.
Kenya prides itself in its natural beauty and wildlife, but more needs to be done to care for urban environments.
Pollution has become a major issue. If you think about issues of climate change, basically that's pollution. It's the emission of greenhouse gases, which is a byproduct of our industrial processes. If you think about the example I gave you of water, water is seriously polluted in Kenya. If you talk about, there was a report in 2013 about the state of our oceans. They're seriously polluted. There is actually some dead zones within the oceans where life is not, at least the mammals are not, or the fish are not existing.
Kenyan authorities earlier this year implemented the world's strictest ban on plastic bags. The ban points to a commitment from authorities when it comes to protecting the environment.
About the banning of plastic bags, I really appreciated the Kenyans' response. It was difficult to hear any communities or any individuals complaining about the plastic bags. It has caused a lot of inconveniences. Even for myself, I go to the store, I buy something and I'm like, oh, I forgot to bring my own bag. But again, I remember not having plastic bags is solving a lot of problems. Environmental problems. If you start actually driving around the city and walking in our estates, you can actually see improvements.
But there's another sort of garbage that has been piling up in Africa: e-waste.
Because most of the consumers, the consumer awareness on proper disposal of electrical and electronic waste is very low in the country. Secondly, another challenge would be these consumers. They have, some of them, if they are corporates, they have a policy for disposal. And most of them, the policy is to sell to the highest bidder.
The consequences include traces of heavy metals in water supplies. That's where We Center comes in. Based in Nairobi, it safely disposes of e-waste.
Most of the electronics, during the manufacturing, they have embedded in them heavy metals. And these heavy metals, when they are thrown back into the environment, it comes back to us through the food chain. So if it is not, that e-waste is not properly managed, it ends back to us being the consumers. Electronic waste management is very expensive, but also as we look at the side of for management, but also we look at how do we manage or mitigate against negative effects that end up to the soil, to the water, and to the animals.
Millions of tons of the world's e-waste ends up in African countries due to a lack of policy implementation and enforcement.
We are working on a waste management bill, and that we hope to push through Parliament. We are working together with various stakeholders, NEMA and also the ministry. And this is a bill that will guide how waste is managed from the counties to the national level and the cities. And right now we are in discussions with potential investors in the waste management sector. We're having discussions with people from Sweden and Finland, and we are looking at opportunities for them to come invest in waste management.
Public awareness is also critical. That includes education in schools and other awareness campaigns, a multi-pronged approach to make this continent a cleaner place for future generations. Even as Kenya has begun to prioritize the environment in its economic development agenda following the ban on manufacture and importation of plastics, a lot more needs to be done to move Kenya closer to a comprehensive green economy. Beryl, Ooro for CGTN, Nairobi.